L-carnitine is a legal fat burner and also a performance aid. It's very popular in weight loss supplements, but we're going to talk about that now. So what is L-carnitine? L-carnitine is synthesized naturally in the body. It's made of 2 amino acids, methionine and lysine, and 95% of it is found in your skeletal muscle. You can also get it through your diet, especially through meats like beef. Right, so how does it work? In the simplest way possible, basically what it does is promote translocation of long-chain fatty acids into the mitochondria. Now, let's make that even simpler. You have fatty acids in the body and they need to get into the mitochondria to be oxidized and used as energy. Unfortunately, the membranes of the mitochondria are impermeable to the fatty acids, so they can't get across. So what L-carnitine does is sort of help transport them across the membrane so that they can be oxidized and used. So for obvious reasons, then came along the claims that it's a great fat burner. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's look at that. So if you take carnitine on its own, it has really poor bioavailability in the body. So basically, it doesn't get to the places you want it to go to. Researchers found that if you take it with carbohydrates, that retention does increase, and that's because it is an insulin-dependent mechanism. So before we talk about weight loss, let's talk about its effect on performance. So chronic carnitine intake does seem to improve muscle metabolism in endurance exercise. And as we said earlier, it does that by enhancing fat oxidation. Whilst it helps endurance training, it doesn't help those shorter high-intensity events. That's because you're relying on other energy systems. The study did find, though, that even though it does change substrate metabolism slightly, it doesn't really alter overall fat and glucose oxidation rates. So we think there's possibly a benefit in endurance athletes, but not so much for anyone else. Now, when we think about what most gym goers would use it for, they'd use it as a fat burner, so any kind of weight loss products might contain it. But what the research has shown us is that it doesn't really influence fat metabolism unless you are already in a deficient state. And people who are more at risk of being in a deficient L-carnitine state are vegetarians and people that don't eat meat. But for most people, there is no noticeable difference in resting fat metabolism from taking the supplement. Now, the only way we can really link it to weight loss is that it has been shown to potentially reduce DOMS and fatigue after training. So if you're less fatigued, then maybe you can train more, hence the weight loss. The only thing we do know is that it does have a fat reducing effect in elderly people, but not necessarily young people. Anyway, if you are considering taking L-carnitine, even for the potential performance benefit, then you should take 2 grams a day with 80 grams of carbs for 24 weeks, so quite a long time. And remember that that is to potentially benefit endurance performance.